Welcome to Revenue Growth Live with Daryl Amy. You're about to join an interactive forum where business executives, sales professionals, and marketing leaders share ideas to accelerate growth. While you are here, make sure to like or subscribe to get notifications for future episodes. You're encouraged to get involved in today's live conversation by liking and commenting. Now, let's join Daryl Amy for fresh ideas and innovative strategies to help you grow your business faster.
Hello and welcome back to Revenue Growth Live. Daryl Amy here, growth architect, designing systems and strategies to help generous companies and people grow. Today is going to be a fantastic day. We've got a great discussion queued up about how your corporate values can actually be used to drive sales and marketing. And before you tune out and go, Daryl, that's a bunch of fluff. Come on, seriously? Can my company values be used to drive sales and marketing? Can my company values be used to drive results? And my answer to you is absolutely yes. And today you're going to get a vision for how that can happen. In fact, I want to share 3 ways that your company values or your personal values, if you're a smaller organization, a solopreneur, can be used to help drive results. But as we get started today, I just want to say welcome to everybody. I'm glad you're here. This is a growing community of marketing professionals, sales leaders, company owners who are saying, hey, you know what? Now is the time where we've got to dig in, be strategic, get creative, optimize everything to make sure that we are set up to drive and thrive. And, right now, as we look into 2021, here we are, November 10th, as this is being recorded in 2020. This has been a year where maybe the word of the year, I don't know what it's going to end up being, whether it's uncertainty or pivot might be another good word for the year. The reality is right now, it's time for us to continue that mindset, that strategic mindset of going, okay, what are we going to have to do as we see the economy and our marketplaces continue to turn in different directions to whatever the quote unquote new normal is going to be? I would submit to you the new normal for the near term is going to be anything but normal. It's going to be looking and really working to understand what our prospects need, what our clients need, and being able to respond to those, being able to message to those, and being able to really communicate with our marketplace in a way that resonates with them. So whether you're live, give a shout out if you're live. If you're watching later on Facebook or YouTube, I would love to answer your questions. This is an interactive forum. As we get started today, though, I want to give a couple shouts out. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Alex Goldfein. And Alex has got a number of fantastic books. This is one of his older books. I love 5 Minute Selling that just came out this year. I get to talk with Alex on the podcast. But I've actually started going through the Revenue Growth Habit as well. And this is a fantastic book. It's chunked out step by step, short chapters, action items on things you can do on a daily basis to make sure that you're driving revenue. And this is especially valuable for 2 audiences. First, is valuable for the micro business owner, somebody who has got a smaller organization and maybe you're the chief cook, bottle washer, sales rep, marketer, customer service person. Revenue Growth Habit does a really nice job of putting together action items that you can put into place every day. And if you're a sales professional where your entire role is in selling, here's the deal. I know this from the sales professionals I get to talk to. I know this from my own experience is only a small percentage of time is spent actually selling. You're managing your client bases. You're dealing with problems. You're putting in paperwork. You're going to sales meetings. Some of those things can be avoided. Some of them can't. But the reality is, in the middle of that busy world, you need to be able to stay focused on activities that are going to drive growth. And Revenue Growth Habit is one I absolutely am enjoying. I recommend. I know Alex personally from the podcast and had the opportunity to talk with him. He's a fantastic guy. And I think you'll really enjoy the book. The other book that I'm sure I'll be talking about quite a bit This has been on my stack of stuff for a while. This is Mark's third book. Mark is the CEO and founder of a little company called Salesforce. You may have heard of them. And this is his vision for how business can be a platform for change. And I've just started reading this book. And he's got some concepts in there that so far are fantastic. And that really does bring us to what I want us to think about today, which is how are our company values related to our growth? How can we leverage our company values to make our marketing and sales much more effective? And right now, as we're talking about, as we look forward into this new business season, the reality is we've got to have every advantage and we've got to be optimizing everything so that we set ourselves up to recover strong and grow with greater percentages and greater growth in the future so that we can have impact and influence the world for good. So how do your company values impact your marketing and sales? How can your company values be used to help you drive results? Well, there are three ways, and I was writing about this morning, but I wanted to talk about some of this deeper in more of a deeper conversation. So I'll share the link, by the way, if you want to read the article. I published it on our consulting group's website at Convergo. I get to be the visionary for the Convergo team. We implement revenue growth strategies inside companies that use the EOS operating system as outlined in the book Traction. And so I really enjoy my role as visionary at Convergo, helping companies develop revenue growth plans. It's practical application of the things that I write about in Revenue Growth Engine. Anyhow, in the middle of all that, one of the things I love about working with companies in the EOS marketplace that use the entrepreneur's operating system is that part of that system is everything goes back to company values, strategy, goals, people decisions. Who are we going to hire? How are we going to evaluate people? That all goes back to values. And so it got me thinking, well, how does marketing and sales relate to values? And I want to share three things from my article today and talk about them together. And once again, if you've just joined us, welcome. If you are watching later, I'd love to chat with you about this. You can put it in the comments and I'll be watching those. Love to engage in some dialogue. But three ways that your values can help you grow. Now, before we say this, I think maybe it goes without saying, but I just want to state the obvious. How can you use your values to grow your business unless you're really clear on what your values are, right? And do you know personally what your values are? And do you know as a company what your values are? What's important to you? What are the guiding principles by which you make decisions? And this is really, really critical to be thinking about. And by the way, here is the article I just put a link to: 3 ways your company values can improve your marketing and sales. Definitely go and check that out. But if you don't know your values, I would say this is a very, very good time to figure out what your values are. In the beginning of Trailblazer by Mark Benioff, by Mark of Salesforce, he says, trust has to be the highest value in your company. And if it's not, something bad is going to happen. Well, the reality is you need to know your company values. And I challenge you, if you don't, make that a priority before the end of this year. But once you do know your company values and your personal values, if you're in sales or you're a solopreneur, then you can use those to guide your marketing and sales efforts. And the first way you can do that is you can allow your values to help define your ideal client profile. Now, in Revenue Growth Engine, we talk about the accelerator for revenue growth is ideal clients. Ideal clients are the accelerator for revenue growth. And so why is that? Because ideal clients have the ability to buy everything that you sell. They also value what you do. So if you think about these two things from a very practical standpoint, An ideal client has the ability to buy everything that you sell, and they also value what you do. And I would add a third thing: they align with your company values. So there's some demographics. Yeah, they're the right size company. They're in the right location, right industry. They have specific needs. There's some psychographics, meaning some characteristics like they value us, they appreciate our input, they trust us, those types of things. But then the other question I would ask is, what are your company values, and how well do they align? So, for example, at Convergo, our organization that does revenue growth strategies for companies that use EOS, our core values are learning, transparency, and fun. So how does that define our ideal client? Well, look, if we're a company, let's just say that if we are a group of people that like to have fun, we believe that business, while it's serious and while we're going for results, that we can enjoy working with each other at the same time, and have some fun along the way and enjoy our interpersonal relationships. If that's our core value, we need to work to attract clients like that, because clients that are ultra serious, that believe that business and personal relationships should be totally firewalled. There's nothing wrong with that. Some companies believe that and do really well. They're just not really going to enjoy working with us. And so they don't really fit our ideal client profile. On the flip side, the companies that do believe that that work should be enjoyable, that work should be fun, that there is a way to be serious in our results, but also be have an enjoyable interaction with each other, those companies are a great fit. So in our ideal client profile, we would say we're looking for companies that meet this criteria. Look, right now, as of this morning, I Googled, there are 7.8 billion people on the planet. I don't know how many businesses are on the planet. That's a topic for debate. We work in the B2B space. I saw some stats that said there were over 200 million businesses on the planet. And that stat that I read was from 2010. So I'm pretty sure that there's more than 200 million businesses on the planet. Guess what? You can't market to all 200 million businesses or 7.8 billion people. Nobody can do that. And even if you look at your own marketplace, whether your marketplace is the country, whether your marketplace is within a driving radius of where you live, if you look at your marketplace, I guarantee you there are way more businesses and people in your marketplace than you could actually serve. So why not use your values to bring that down to the types of company you actually want to work with, and begin to market to those types of companies using your values as part of the message. Let me illustrate another value at Convergo. We've been talking about Convergo today as our case study. One of our values is transparency. We're a no BS company. We call it like it is. We tell it like it is. Well, guess what? There are other organizations. There are many organizations that I've had the opportunity to work with, some that I've had the opportunity to work in, that don't value transparency. In fact, it's CYA environment. It's it's always like, we'll just reveal what we need to. Well, guess what? That's not going to be a good fit relationship for us. So when we define our ideal client profile, yes, certain size of business, yes, certain locations, yes, certain psychographics, but also looking at the values as part of that psychographic list and going, okay, we want to attract organizations that value accountability. And so, and that are no BS types of organizations. So here's what I want to challenge you to do. One of the things that I think is really important that we get clarity on as we move into this new year is, who are your ideal clients? Who are your best fit clients? The ones that can buy everything that you sell, align with who you are and the types of what you enjoy about working with people, and align with your values. How can you set your ideal client profile up? And if you don't have an ideal client profile, get a copy of Revenue Growth Engine. Reach out to me. I'd love to talk with you about that. But if you do have an ideal client profile, I would go back and look at your ideal client profile and look at your values and go, okay, where's the alignment between those two? And do we need to add some things to our ideal client profile that that includes our company values? Now, I know some of you may be thinking, well, Daryl, look, not every one of our clients aligns with our values. And I would say, yeah, absolutely. And not every one of your new clients that you sign up, people that are prospects, are going to align with all of your values. That would be a bit of a fantasy world. However, with who we attract and who we go after and how we message to them, and our limited resources for marketing and sales, doesn't it make sense to focus on finding companies that align with our values? Because they're going to appreciate working with us. They're going to think the same way we do. And it's going to be a much more cohesive relationship. If you just think about what we were talking about earlier, that value of transparency, and then trying to work with an organization that doesn't value transparency, that's the exact opposite. That's always going to be frustrating, right? It's always be concerning. So why not try to find organizations that align with your values and put that in your ideal client profile? It's a smart way to do business, and it's a smart way to think about how you want to grow. And right now, what's interesting about growing right now is we're in this time of C-level shift in so many marketplaces and so many industries. And while I'm not a prophet that could be able to say exactly how things are shifting, just the simple fact that things are shifting should really give us the pause to be able to say, hey, how do we need to shift as a company? How do we need to shift our marketing strategy? How do we need to shift our ideal client profile? And then we'll talk about some of the other attributes of company values and how they can relate to your marketing on Thursday. We'll dive deeper into this. But right now, I really want you to look at that ideal client profile, and I want you to think about how can we shift our ideal client profile, or what adjustments need to be made to include our values in that profile. So as we're doing all this, I just want to say a huge shout out to everybody. It's great interacting with you. I enjoy the conversations that are coming out of this. Thank you to everybody who is liking and resharing Revenue Growth Live. Tomorrow, we'll be releasing a new episode of the Revenue Growth Podcast. You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned tomorrow. But I am excited just to bring into this conversation last week's episode, which this was so good. It was growth through radical integrity. If you want to talk about a great episode right here that aligns with what we're talking about today, James Jacoby in this episode, in this conversation on growth through radical integrity, really does sum up the whole concept here of saying, hey, let's understand who we are. Let's understand who we are as individuals and as companies, and let's live those values in the marketplace. And as we do, that radical integrity, that radical alignment with our values and staying true to who we are as people and as a company is going to actually fuel growth. So I recommend you take a listen to my conversation with James. I'll put it in the comments here, and it really was a great conversation, very, very powerful. I'm going to put a link to my article from today that kind of spurred our conversation about how values can drive growth, and love your feedback and input on that. This, as we've been saying, is a really, really critical time. So I want to encourage you to, whether you own a business, whether you are a marketing professional, whether you lead a sales team, right now, I just want to encourage you to keep at it. It's November 10th right now. We are moving quickly into the end of the year. I know it's a time where every one of you is working really, really hard. I am as well. And I just want to be here, and I want to cheer you on. I want to say, go for it. Keep driving, keep thriving. And until Thursday, which will be our next Revenue Growth Live, Thursday at 12 o'clock noon Eastern, 9 o'clock Pacific. I'll see you then. And until then, let's get going and let's get growing.